Today, we're going to dive into a dynamic that, honestly, every single one of us has faced at some point or another. It's called the deterrent strategy, and it's all about weaponizing your composure against predators. Let's just start with a really harsh reality here. There is a moment that every person eventually hits when they find themselves stuck in a room with a predator. You know the type, right? It could be a toxic boss, a super manipulative colleague, maybe just a scheming acquaintance. And it's in that exact moment you realize something terrifying. Just being a good person, it isn't enough. Being ridiculously talented at your job, also not enough. Being completely ethically in the right, yeah, that just isn't enough to protect you.
So, that brings us to a really crucial question. Why do good, incredibly talented people get completely destroyed? Well, history's absolute greatest strategists, going all the way from Sun Tzu to modern writers like Robert Greene, they've understood this deeply. Literally millions of highly capable people get crushed every single year. But it's not because they lack strength, not at all. It's because they're totally missing one ancient rule. Predators do not attack threats. They attack what looks like prey. So today, we're going to unpack exactly how you can stop looking like prey and seriously armor yourself against these kinds of people.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the meritocracy myth. Because before we can actually solve this problem of workplace predators, we really have to break down a super dangerous misconception.
You see, most of us just sort of walk around believing that power is a dirty word. Or, we think it's something exclusively reserved for presidents, prime ministers, or those CEOs with the massive corner offices. We tell ourselves, hey, I don't need power, I just want to put my head down and do good work. But actually, scratch that, we need to completely redefine what power actually means here. Real power? It's simply this: a margin of control in your daily relationships. That's it. It's not about ruling a whole country. It's really about the everyday, subtle control you have with your manager, your partner, or, that one coworker who always magically seems to take credit for your late-night efforts. If you don't possess that tiny margin of control, you are just completely at the mercy of someone else's agenda.
Moving on to Section 2, the 30% reality. To really get a grip on this, we've got to take a hard look at the environment you're actually operating in right now.
So Robert Greene, a guy who's basically spent his entire career decoding power dynamics, he describes every workplace as existing on a very specific spectrum. Imagine a dial, right? It goes from 0 all the way to 100. Up at 100, you've got pure meritocracy. In this absolute utopia, you work hard, you get brilliant results, and boom, you are automatically rewarded. It's perfectly fair. But down at 0, that's pure politics. Basically, it's a medieval court just masquerading as a modern corporate office. In a 0 environment, your actual output, it barely even matters. It is entirely about who you flatter, and how threatening or submissive you appear to the folks in charge.
And here is the cold, hard truth that nobody ever warns you about when you start your career. The number is 30. Most of us are actually operating in a 30% environment, so it leans super heavily toward the political side of things. And guys, here's the ultimate trap. If you show up to a 30% political environment carrying a 100% purely ethical, strictly merit-based playbook, you are going to lose every single time. You will get completely blindsided by the politics simply because you are playing entirely the wrong game.
So what do we do? That brings us to Section 3, the deterrent strategy. How in the world do we survive in a 30% environment without totally compromising our core identity? Well, the answer actually lies in the concept of nuclear deterrence. Believe it or not, it is quite possibly the single greatest, most underused weapon intelligent people possess. Greene calls this the shot across the bow. It's one controlled, highly surgical action that's designed entirely just to send a signal. I mean, think about how nuclear deterrence actually functions on the world stage for a second. Global superpowers aren't constantly firing missiles at each other every day, right? They don't need to. The mere knowledge that a nation possesses a weapon and absolutely has the unwavering will to use it, that alone is enough to prevent an attack from ever happening in the first place. And in your daily life, it's the exact same thing. You don't need to destroy your enemy or get dragged into this exhausting daily warfare. You just need to send an incredibly clear signal that you are not someone they can afford to target.
So what does this actually look like in the real world? Let's talk about some highly effective deterrent tactics. It could be something like strategically sharing a specific piece of revealing information that highlights their incompetence, but making sure it only goes to exactly the right person. Or, it might be making this quiet, perfectly timed, knowing comment. Just something small that demonstrates you are fully aware of something they desperately prefer kept hidden. Or, honestly, it could be as simple as suddenly withdrawing your crucial assistance on a project they desperately need to succeed.
What almost nobody realizes is that the specific action itself matters way less than the signal it sends. You're not trying to defeat them in Mortal Kombat. You are actively changing their internal cost-benefit calculation. Once they realize that crossing you carries a real, tangible risk, I guarantee they will almost never test you a second time.
This flows right into Section 4, the mask of composure. Now, to understand exactly why deterrence works so well, we have to look at the psychology at play here. Because predators are not just irrational monsters lashing out blindly. No, they are actually hyper-rational. They conduct a very specific, calculated threat assessment before they ever launch any kind of attack.
And what exactly are they looking for during this assessment? Well, they're actively searching for people who exhibit what psychologists call low-cost signals of submission. We've literally all done these when we feel uncomfortable. It's that nervous laughter when a subtle insult gets thrown our way. It's over-explaining our actions the second we're questioned. Or sudden emotional outbursts. Or maybe offering this massive, excessive apology when we haven't even done anything wrong. Listen, when you do these things, you instantly make yourself look like prey. You are practically handing your opponent a high-definition map of your deepest insecurities and vulnerabilities. So we have to completely replace those submissive signals with what we call the mask of composure. It's this quiet, still authority. Just imagine you've just been subtly sabotaged at work. Say a meeting you spent weeks preparing for was just aggressively hijacked by a colleague. Instead of getting flustered or getting angry or desperately over-explaining your position, you just smile. And I don't mean a fake, super happy smile, but a calm, knowing one. You visually demonstrate to the predator that you aren't rattled at all. You show them that you are already 3 steps ahead of them. That quiet composure, it is absolutely terrifying to a manipulator. Why? Because it signals that not only can you take a hit, but you were fully expecting it.
Let's wrap this up with Section 5, Surviving the Jungle.
Let's bring all these concepts together now. This is really all about how intelligent, highly capable people can finally put on the armor they need to truly thrive. Here is the absolute new playbook we must adopt. Silence is information control. Composure is power signaling. There is a profound reason why truly powerful people tend to speak a lot less. It's not just to look mysterious for the sake of it. When you talk too much, you leak information. You constantly give away your emotional state, your strategy, your fears. Silence totally protects your strategy. And when you combine that unshakable calm with just one of those calibrated deterrent actions we talked about, you create an impenetrable armor. Once you put it on, you'll be amazed to find that the predators in your life mysteriously just wander off to find much easier targets.
Which brings us to one final, really provocative question to think about. Are you still treating the jungle like a garden? The goal here isn't to become the toxic thing you hate. Not at all. The goal is to simply stop being naive. The world isn't always fair, and pure merit doesn't automatically win. But by adopting this calculated mindset, by really leveraging composure and the deterrent strategy, you make it absolutely clear that you are nobody's prey. I'd highly encourage you to reevaluate your own workplace dynamics this week through this new lens.